I'm Jack Quaid, and you're watching TrekCulture. Live long and prosper.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Ellie? Thank you for joining me. How are you today?
I'm okay, little bit sad. There's been some sad news in the world of Star Trek, but overall, it could be worse.
That's true. That's true. Actually, yeah. Let's decide a tone on this before we go on. Yes, obviously, straight up front, we're here to discuss our first impressions. Obviously, we're going to be spoiler free, but our first impressions to season 3 of Strange New Worlds. But obviously, now the conversation is going to feature the fact that the announcement has come out that Strange New Worlds has been renewed for a 5th season, but they've also confirmed that it will be the final season. That part of the announcement, I will be honest, not a surprise. I'm really not surprised by that at this stage. We actually, you and I have talked about before the 5 seasons, I think now being more or less the standard in this current era. 5 seasons for Lower Decks, 5 seasons for Discovery. Picard was always a 3-season deal, and poor old Prodigy just had so many issues going against it from the jump. It's still got 40 episodes. Whereas we've 6 episodes for the 5th season of Strange New Worlds, which is there's questions. There's questions that may or may not ever get an answer. I don't really, obviously we don't know what the story is there, but I do want to kind of, because yeah, we're definitely getting a 4th and a 5th season, which is good. We have time for them to lean into... Can you tell I've been thinking about this? We have time for it to, to craft an arc if they want to end it on their own terms.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the important thing. Most of the other endings that we've had in Discovery, even Lower Decks, kind of seem to come quite suddenly, and so there wasn't as much time to pad out the story and give it a satisfying conclusion. It was, let's rework this ending so it now can be an overall ending. And I mean, we've had a similar situation with Doctor Who recently, where something that wasn't intended to be the final story then was reworked to be a final story, and there's some hiccups in there that make it quite obvious that that's what happened. Yeah. Whereas at least in this situation, they know that they're coming to an end, but they've also got the time to make it a good ending and not have to just work backwards.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think Lower Decks' ending was left so nicely open-ended because the things we've learned since, they described it as a pretty good idea going into season 5 that it was going to be their last season. So I think they've managed to, because Lower Decks obviously has less of an overarching storyline, they were able to kind of finish it in a fun way, whereas Discovery obviously didn't have the time to craft like a season arc ending, if you know what I mean. But what they did get was that coda, the last I think it's about 16 minutes or so, which I mean I like that one. But again, you can tell it was, we need to end this. And I think they did a good job on that. Whereas this, yes, whatever this 5th season's going to look like, at least they have the time to bring it up to... I mean, because obviously, I mean, now we can theorize for the next however long about what it's going to be. One thing that I think some commenters online I've seen might have missed the fact that season 5 goes into production this year. So, because the first set of reactions I saw was like, oh, great, and we're not going to get season 5 till about 2040. Now, I reckon we're going to get it 2027. I mean, because season 4 is currently filming, and they're going into production on season 5 toward the back half of this year. So at least, I don't think they're rushing anything, but at least we won't have the whopper gap that we've just had between seasons 2 and season 3.
Also, I don't know how early, obviously, production knew that season 5 would be the final one, but it's also a good thing that they are currently in production on season 4, so if they need to, rewrites and reworks can be done during production for season 4 so that it can then link into a final, because they might have gone into season 4 not knowing that the next season will be the final one, but at least it's currently in production, so those changes can be made in the moment as opposed to having to go back and either change it or try and cram something in to fit that wasn't intended to fit with what they'd done for season 4. So that's definitely a good thing as well.
I totally agree. Plus, I was thematically 5-year mission. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, that's been Star Trek since day one. And to be honest, I don't even think that's me overtly trying to glass half full this. Like, I think that legitimately positives, not positive the show is ending, but positive that we kind of have an idea of what the overall shape of Strange New Worlds is going to be. Some characters, we know where Spock ends up. You know, we know where Uhura ends up. We know where Scotty ends up. As far as I'm concerned, Scotty's still canonically alive in the time of Picard, by the way. Spoiler for a 30-year-old episode, I guess. And sadly, we know where Pike ends up. You know? So, in theory, it makes sense for it to have a sort of a defined, it's a 5-year mission, that's what it's going to be, because Kirk has to take command of the Enterprise. And I would imagine, unless something goes horribly wrong with Paul Wesley's contracts, I would imagine our final episode is going to feature the handover of...
I was just going to say that. It's actually quite nice that we can tie the end of this one into almost bringing it full circle to the original series. I think that could be a very satisfying close. And also, we've had that question as well, because you've known that Pike from day one has been on borrowed time because you know his fate. And, you know, they could have done a story that meant that, surprise, he actually lives. But I think it's good that presumably they're just going to bring it full circle so that the events that we know happen to the characters do happen, rather than kind of retroactively retconning something or changing something. Or I think that's probably the better way forward for the fans anyway.
I do think so. I also, my prediction, we're not going to see the accident. I don't think it's going to end with Pike in the chair. I think that's my prediction. I might be very wrong. I think the show will end with the knowledge that it's coming, and probably soon. But because I also think it would be, because of the horrific nature of the accident, which, can we still call it an accident if we know it's coming? But anyway, I think it would be quite a downbeat way to end what is an overall very upbeat show.
And we have seen glimpses of that storyline already. So it would maybe feel a little bit like a rehash of stories we'd already seen, because that has already been explored to some degree. Otherwise, Pike wouldn't know that that's the future that's awaiting him. So we know it's already been explored to a degree.
Absolutely. I think we can and will discuss this at length over the next while. But let's talk about the reason we came here to do this, which was to discuss our first impressions of season 3 of Strange New Worlds. Now, for everyone watching, there will be no spoilers in this video, so please don't worry about that. But what I will say is, if you are someone who doesn't even watch trailers, this video probably not for you. That's absolutely fine. And what you do is come back to us then when, the first 2 episodes drop on the 17th of July. And as well, to anyone, Tribeca Festival is happening through the magic of time, may have already happened by the time this video is live. So people may have seen the first episode or 2 already. Let's try and keep those spoilers off the internet, folks. So we will talk about, obviously, the episode titles of the first 5, because they have been released for a while now. General thoughts, Ellie. Episode 1, Hegemony Part 2.
My first impression after this episode is to give some advice.
Okay.
Which is, if you haven't done so, my advice would be rewatch season 2 before watching season 3. Because it has been a long time. Maybe longer than we're used to waiting between seasons. And I think it's important that you refresh your memory on the events of season 2 before heading into this season.
I think that's good advice, for sure. Yep. I think, it's definitely one of the longest cliffhanger breaks we've ever had to deal with. We often talk about this in the channel. Do you remember, like, well, obviously, and to be honest, I was alive for it, but no, I don't really remember waiting for Best of Both Worlds Part 2 either. But that was only 6 months, you know? Whereas this has been 2 years. Do you feel they adequately handle the cliffhanger?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid episode. I'm trying so hard not to spoil anything. Do you know how hard this is?
I hear you.
But yeah, I definitely would say, obviously, you know from the title, this is a continuation. It's a 2-part story based off of the finale of season 2. So, and that in itself presents issues when you have a long wait. But overall, I think it was very, very well handled. And yeah, good episode.
Yes, that would be my top line thoughts. I think there is the things that are set up in part 1. I think they pay off quite well. In part 2, I think I'm going to say it was worth the wait. I would have liked a shorter wait, but it was worth the wait. And actually, everyone is good. There's a few people, obviously, to single out. Anson Mount is particularly good in this episode. And yeah, I definitely, I'm really excited to see what people think of this one. Visually, it's a great one as well. They came back with a bang. So that is cool. We'd seen the scene that was released at San Diego Comic-Con there last... Was it San Diego Comic-Con? No, it might have just been released online. The opening moments of the episode. We sort of keep that pace throughout, and I think it's a solid part 2. I look forward. Jack recently ranked all of the 2-parters in Star Trek, so I'll be interested now to see where this fits when we come to redoing that list. Poor old Jack is like, I have to rewrite that again. Okay, so Hegemony Part 2, thumbs up from me. Okay, we then have Wedding Bell Blues, Episode 2. Top line thoughts, what do you think?
I think this one was very fun. So it's definitely a fun episode. And actually didn't go in the direction I initially thought it was going to go in. Which is good, because you don't want things to be predictable. And I think I had an idea of which characters were going to be in which situations in this episode, and then was actually surprised that it took a different turn. So yeah, I was glad by that.
Yep, I think that is pretty good. We get a couple of new cast in this episode. In fact, we get several new cast members in this episode, who may or may not have recurring roles as we go along. But particularly, this is a good Ethan Peck episode as well. Yeah, he's great in this. Strange New Worlds overall, I think, has been clever about how it's used Spock as a character, because this is a character dripping in legacy. You know, he speaks the first words in Star Trek, back in the cage. So I mean, he is the oldest character in Star Trek, and to keep him fresh and engaging is a challenge. But again, something I think that they've done well here. I am dying to say more, but I can't.
I was just going to say, how can I say this without spoiling anything? But there is an element of this episode that made me very happy.
Yeah.
It made me smile.
There is also an element... Okay, right, how's this? There's an element of this episode as well that made me very unhappy.
Ooh.
Now,
dear.
And yeah, this'll be one of those, when you know, you know. But, yep, so I look forward to seeing people's reactions to the ups and downs for this one. Now, I could see your eyebrows raised now as well, but yes. Okay, right, so, episode 3, Shuttle to Kenfor.
I would say, this isn't necessarily just about this episode, but by the time we get to this episode, one of the strengths of Strange New Worlds is how different each episode is, and that they explore such different genres of television, and it's just very fresh and new and explores different things. Sometimes it can get a bit static, but that's one of the things that I really enjoy about Strange New Worlds, is that it does try to kind of give you different types of stories each week, and this one was definitely different to the previous one.
Yes, it was. This one, I thought, great episode for Babsala Summacon.
Absolutely, yes.
And, you know, one of the things that Strange New Worlds does so well, as much as I talked about how well it uses Spock, it uses its ensemble. And, oh, can I say this? I think I can. Ortega's fans will be happy with season 3 that we've seen so far.
Definitely.
So that is, and that was something I was super happy about watching these couple of episodes, because I mean, hashtag Mortegas, you know, that's
absolutely
for a while. And also, listen, I'm also going to plug this wee little book here by James Swallow, because it's a great Ortegas story as well, Toward the Night. So season 3, Melissa Navia getting plenty to do.
Yeah.
In Shuttle to Kenfor, but also across the episodes that we're talking about here today. So thumbs up there. There's also things in this episode that I did not love. This one, I think I've had the most mixed reaction to episode 3 that I had out of, I think, the 5. And it's, again, obviously that I look forward to going into in more detail. I came away from this one going, okay, I can see why they've done some things there. I'm not entirely sure I like what they've done, but I can see why they've done it.
I definitely will say though, this is another one where make sure you've done your rewatch of Strange New Worlds, just so that everything's fresh in your mind. Otherwise, you may end up like me and go, hang on a minute. Hang on a second. What happened again? Good advice. Definitely, I think going into season 3, if you get a chance, start with season 1, episode 1. There's only 20 episodes, and just fly through it. One funny thing I will say about this episode, which I don't think is a spoiler, but there was one element of Una that I have thoughts on.
Yep.
I'm saying no more, but I had thoughts.
I know exactly what you mean. Yep. I remember just being like, okay. And but then even on that, there's also some stuff featuring Una as well that is like, that's an up.
It's a good episode. Again, this is a good show for its ensemble cast. Everyone has things to do.
Yes, 100. Yes, and they're all. This is a good example of using its ensemble. Episode 4 might even be a better example of how. Now, I suppose what we can say about this one is, at this stage, it's fairly well known. Episode 4 is the murder mystery episode, and it was directed by Jonathan Frakes. So that is a matter of public knowledge. So this is fun. This is a fun episode.
This is a fun. My takeaway from this one, similar to your comment for the first episode, is standout performance from Anson Mount in particular in this episode. I think he was brilliant.
Yep. Celia Rose Gooding, excellent in this as well.
I mean, everybody, but just everyone's brilliant. But just in particular.
But do you know what? There's something about Jess Bush's performance in this as well. I think people are going to get a real kick out of. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great example of Star Trek can do comedy very well. Because Star Trek is funny. It might not be a comedy franchise, but it is fun. You don't need to look at half the stuff Worf says to know that people have a great sense of humor.
Yep.
And yep, again, this seems like an episode where they just went, everyone gets to play.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say something that's a spoiler then, so I can't say that.
I think, yeah, you can see in our reaction, I think we enjoyed this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I feel bad skipping over. Okay, episode. Sorry. Episode 4 is called A Space Adventure Hour. And yeah, that'll maybe tell you what to expect going in. I don't know. Saying anything more feels like I'm edging on spoiler territory there. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Right, Through the Lens of Time, episode 5, and this is where. So episode 5 is the end of where we're going to be on our initial reactions. So, what did you think of episode 5?
I think it had some strong moments to it. I think of the 5, this one's probably at the bottom of my list in terms of enjoyment. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I think just the first 4 were so strong and so different that this one just didn't grip me as much as the others. But by no means is it one that I'd be like, well, I'm never watching that again.
No, I hear you. I hear you as well. This is a big concept episode. And I do like the concept. It's a big one. And it makes me wonder if it is part of a larger story or part of a larger arc. I think, and it's hard to tell because we have only seen these 5 episodes. And you know, again, this one, another one that's good for its guest stars. And I think they are overall used well in this episode. We are teased with a storyline that, again, I think will come up later in the season. And that would be to do with one of the guest stars, and seemingly the role that they're going to use. Visually, it's a great episode. Looks pretty good. It's definitely there. And actually, I thought there was a surprising but satisfying callback to an earlier thread that becomes quite important here with one of the characters, and I liked that because I wonder where they were going to go with the earlier one. There was a slightly dangling thread, that becomes a bit more taut here in this episode, which I like because I like the idea of introducing an idea that you're going to do something with.
I'm only laughing because we're just talking in riddles, and I think everyone else is going, what are you talking about? But it's so hard to not give anything away.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward, obviously, to be able to talk about it in more detail. But I also really look forward to seeing people's reactions. How do you feel? Okay, so now generally over the 5 episodes, do you have anything that kind of stands out the most? Like, say, what would your season ups for the first 5? Do you have anything that's like, oh, straight away, there you go, or vice versa?
Well, as I did mention earlier, I really, really like that across these 5 episodes, they're all very different. And that's, I think, like I said, one of the strengths of Strange New Worlds, that it doesn't get stuck in kind of, I guess because it kind of explores this more episodic format, I think it does a really good job of having a through line and having threads and relationships that continue, but also going back to that kind of more simple episodic structure where you don't have things that are so relevant that as I say, do your rewatch, it is important, but overall you can watch these episodes standalone, and if you're not a fan of what they did last week, next week's is going to be entirely different. So I think that's probably the highlight for me. Obviously the thing I mentioned in episode 2 that I can't say, but that for me was something that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I think that's the strong point for me, is how different they are.
I think so. I think one of my strong points would be the use of the ensemble, but the use of the guest cast is very good. And just I'm going to keep it vague in general, but the guest cast is great. Something that people actually, this is official, so people know, Martin Quinn has been raised to a main cast. So Martin Quinn so Scotty is good this season. So he's there. His name is in the opening credits. He's a lot of fun. Martin Quinn I'm really, really happy with his addition. I think he works really, really well. And then, yes, as I say, keeping it vague, Irish people are going to like, I think, season 3 of Strange New Worlds. I think there's ups for the Irish in season 3. Hopefully that's raised some eyebrows and keeps it vague enough as well. I'm just happy. I think you said it perfectly. It's 5 quite different episodes. It's definitely episode. I mean, there's through lines, but it's definitely episodic. Hasn't lost that at all, and it does feel, going into episode 1, that as long as the wait has been, it's like slipping into a hot bath again. It's like we're just right back where we left off. I mean, we literally are right back where we left off. But and there's a couple of things where you're like, well done on how they filmed it, because there's 1 or 2 visual clues in episode 1 where you're just like, well, this clearly wasn't filmed the same day that you filmed part 1, but they haven't lost any of the urgency. They've lost none of the tone. It's right back into it. So that's really, really well done. And yeah, I'm just excited now. Let's bring it on. So as I say, there will be people at the Tribeca Festival in Tribeca this weekend who will see at least the first episode. I'm assuming the second, but I think at least the first episode will be screened. So enjoy. Keep those spoilers offline. Let's let everyone enjoy it at their own pace. So we say it's now been a while since we've done an Ups and Downs series, which is a weird thing to say. If you are someone who does not want any kind of teaser, even, absolutely fine. Genuinely, that's no problem. What I will say is, when we're doing the Ups and Downs, obviously the nature of online is there will be discussions. Like if you don't get a chance to watch the episode the second it drops, which is perfectly understandable, people have lives. What I will recommend, mute hashtags. So we on the channel, we will make sure everything that we put out will have hashtag Star Trek on it and hashtag Strange New Worlds on it. So mute those if you don't get a chance to watch something straight away. Because again, totally fair, people have lives, but do mute things because we sort of have to talk about things as well. Obviously, we're not going to post like, oh, by the way, here's the ending. We will never do that. But we do discuss things. So if you want to avoid stuff, it's a bit hard to say to somebody, just stay offline. I do understand that as well. People's lives are so online now, it's a bit hard to say, just stay offline. But do be aware yourselves. People are going to discuss these things online. Obviously, we know that in the recent series of Doctor Who, Russell T would put out nearly a weekly reminder going, it's going to be on iPlayer at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you don't get a chance to watch it, just stay, or watch it straight away, or just stay offline. So, not trying to tell anybody what to do, not what this is about, just saying be aware going into the season. We are going to do our absolute best to make sure that we do not put anything spoilery out there, but even as has happened in the past, inadvertently, something might have been shared that might have spoiled a little surprise for somebody else. And we feel horrible when that happens. We never set out to do that. But we do it on the other side. Just try and mute hashtags. Again, if it sounds like I've been preparing this statement, maybe I have. Mute hashtags. stay away from forum. Okay, if you go near a Reddit forum, I'm sorry, but you're taking ownership over any kind of spoilers that you see on there if you start to go in your discussion forums. I do have to say that. Like, fair enough if you're on, like, Teletubbies.com and somebody shares a screenshot from a Star Trek episode. Fair enough. That's not your fault. What the hell is that doing there? But yeah. Right, okay. Spiel over, I think?
I just love that you mentioned the Teletubbies.
Why not? Why not, you know? Teletubbies in Star Trek, you know? July 17th, the 2-episode season premiere of season 3 of Strange New Worlds will drop. We are aiming, so just so ye all know as well, we are aiming to have our ups and downs probably staggered over Thursday, Friday. So with episode 1 on the 17th, episode 2 on the 18th, I'm going to put a big, massive, possibly Tom might have an editing graphic of asterisks subject to change. But that's our soft plan for that. So, obviously we will update as we go along. But the most important thing is, folks, Star Trek is back.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, you
know what else, though? Just a little fun thing. We also have a new video to come out each week in relation to each new episode to go alongside the ups and downs.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We are, I think we can say this here. I want to say something in this video. We are going to have a bit of a sort of an initial reaction video to each episode. That will come out the day the episode airs. Obviously, there will be no spoilers in video titles. Not like, oh my god, this person did a thing. No, not a thing. It will be, what just happened, and we're going to discuss it. It's going to be a fun, very loose chat. Probably... There
will be spoilers in the chat.
Oh my god, yes, there will be spoilers in the chat. It will be a reaction to the episode that just dropped. So do not watch those before you watch the episode. That will be stamped over every single bit of the video. So that will be full of spoilers. After the episode airs, only watch it once you've watched the episodes. I do not know, as I say these words, whether the first week we'll do 2 in 1 or whether we'll probably just do 1 per episode, just because the 2 episodes obviously air on the same day. Probably we'll still do 1 per episode. Someone somewhere whose name rhymes with mom just put his head in his hands thinking about the amount of work that's coming ahead. But we love him, and remember, all love and things to Chris as well, who's off for a little while because of family duties. That he's doing really good, and everyone is doing great, and you can see the smiles in us that we're really happy for him. And yeah, so everyone, you're awesome. This video is way longer than I thought it was going to be.
And we've not really said anything.
Exactly. Gosh, it's almost like we're Star Trek YouTubers. Oh wait. Anyway, look after yourselves, everyone. Please follow us on the socials. Please subscribe. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It makes such a difference when you do. We are on all of the socials. We are on... Ellie, we are on the TikTokies, and we're on the Instagrams as well. I'm looking at you because you're very good at looking after all of that stuff for us.
I'm currently in the process of making our Instagram page look better.
Thank you. Seriously, it's appreciated. Thank you. We will see you all soon on one of the social media sites, presumably. Until then, live long and prosper.